Thanks for clicking on the Komets page at Wayne.com. It's the weekly edition of Inside the Zone on loan from the News-Sentinel. He's Blake Sebring. I'm Rod Hissong. Well, a fairly successful week for the Komets. 3 wins in 4 games. They had a nice weekend sweep, scored a lot of goals, and another shutout. So, again, it's almost the same conversation from last week. They're just playing better hockey.
Well, I mean, and one thing I noticed this weekend is the forwards were just dominating play. I mean, they were cycling down low, and the other teams just couldn't keep up with them, which was great for a couple reasons because, you know, obviously it created some offensive chances, but it also kept the game easier, much easier for their defense. I mean, it gave the defense a break. When you have 4 games in 5 days like that, you know, the defense, and especially when you kill off 11 penalties on Friday night, the defense needed a break. They needed some help, and the forwards gave it to them.
Yeah, and when you get the front of the line playing pretty well, it takes a lot of pressure off the defense and the goalkeeping. But the 2 goalkeepers, Bush and Kevin, just right now they're a brick wall in front of that net.
Well, and they've been that way all year. I mean, you can definitely tell the forwards are all coming back and really helping out defensively, and they're really cutting down scoring chances. If you notice, you know, something to watch for maybe the next game is the Komets are doing a great job of really packing in their defense and really leaving the only opportunities are from the outside, and they're letting the goalies see everything and clear the rebounds pretty easily, and that makes the whole game easier.
Yeah, 2 goals against average in the 4 games last week. But getting the weekend sweep, especially beating Dayton, that's a team that is ahead of them. They need to beat Bloomington, the other team, which ironically the only team they lost to middle of last week. But they've got a couple more chances at Bloomington. They actually went down. It was the first time they lost at Bloomington this season. So I guess that's kind of the team they've got to set their sights on a little bit to get over that next hump to keep moving up the conference standings.
Well, and, you know, we talked about when they had the suspensions for Wichita, how the suspensions maybe weren't as high as some people would have liked them, but they lost those guys for 3 or 4 games. Now, that really seems to have put Wichita into taking them off their game a little bit because they were pretty hot when they came into Fort Wayne, and then they had the brawl, and then they lost those guys for 3 or 4 games, and it kind of took them off their stride, and they're right now the team that the Komets can pass next. They're 3 points behind them. They're only 5 points out of 3rd place right now, which is crazy when you think about it. But there's 17 games left, and there's plenty of time, and most of those games are at home where they're starting to play so much better. They've won 5 out of 6 at home, and, you know, they can get some things done here.
Is the front office, the Frankies, are they happy with the nucleus they have with this team now?
Oh, I think they'd be crazy to try to manipulate it any. I mean, especially with Michael Ratchuk down from Springfield. Now, you don't know how long he's going to be here, but you don't know that he's not going to be here either. So you want to try to keep him, you know, and if they can keep him, and even if they can't, they've got Brandon Warner and Danko Maranovic, you know, 3 guys who have 3 rings as your backups. That's not a bad backup set, right. You know. I mean, you know, you could do worse. Right. You know, yeah. I bet any team in this league would like to make a trade for either one of those guys right now if you could pull it off. But they'd be crazy to pull that off.
Let's talk a little bit about power play. We talked about it last week. They were starting to get going a little bit. I'll admit I didn't see a lot of hockey this weekend other than scores. And I know that Sunday, first period, Schrock was able to bust through on a power play. Is that the technical focus right now for this team, is improving on the power play?
You might think so, but I'll give you here's something that's really amazing. They've only allowed 2 power play goals against, and I think it's their last 49 chances. I mean, it's just something insane like that. Really, that's what they're most concerned with. If they can keep them off the power play and keep these streaks going like that, they're not going to get beat, because even if they don't score on their own power play, they're going to outscore everybody 5-on-5 just because they have so much depth in all 3 lines. All 3 lines scored this week. Matthew Curto's hot again. Leo scored. He had a big goal Saturday night in Quad City. Kaylee's getting to the front of the net again. I mean, the cycling thing is just working like crazy right now, and it's working on every line. And most teams in this league have 2 good lines. They don't have 3 good lines. The Komets have 3 good lines, and that 3rd line is the one that's really becoming the force in winning them some games right now. So their theory is if they can keep them off the power play, keep the opposing teams off scoring power play goals, then that takes all the pressure off of them for their own power play, so they'll relax and they'll be fine. And with Michael Ratchuk, right now. They're really good on the power play, and then they know they're going to kill teams 5-on-5. I mean, the last 13 games are 11-2, and they've outscored teams 47 to 20, 48 I think to 27. Now out of that, the power plays are only 11 goals for and 9 against. So that's kind of a wash, which means 5-on-5 they're killing teams, and that's because of their depth.
Any concern that with John Morasti having a few, he comes in, he's going to add to the penalty minutes, so that puts him on the penalty kill a little more. Is that
Actually,
a concern?
It's not, because John is so smart about this, and he is a guy who always takes somebody to the box with him. Yesterday I thought he was going to maybe get an instigator penalty when he was McHugh, because he really gave McHugh no choice but to fight. I mean,
plus he's smart because he does it in the first 10 minutes of the game.
Exactly. I mean, he jumped right in that guy's face, and he had his gloves off, and he's grabbing him. It's like, we're going. And it's like, okay, I guess we're going. So the guy had no choice but to drop his gloves. But he could have got an instigator there. I mean, and no one was surprised, okay? And he's really smart about it, is he only fights the other team's enforcer. So, you're not getting the instigator there.
It's like you sit down and you got your nachos and your beverage of choice, and you're just waiting. You follow him. You don't even care about where the puck's at. You just follow him on the ice because I don't want to say he's headhunting, but he's looking.
Oh
he's
yeah,
looking for
he
somebody.
is. I mean, and there's no doubt that's his job. That's what he does. I mean, he's been in McHugh's head for several weeks now.
He's fun to watch though, and even if he's not going to score any goals, because let's be honest, he'll score one by accident.
Yeah.
But boy, is he fun to watch, and he brings an awful lot of excitement.
Yeah,
on the ice
and
for
like
Komets.
I said before, a couple weeks ago, having Morasti here allows the other guys to slot in where they're at in the toughness scale, like Sescon and Schrock and Molly. They're all can slot in, and suddenly the Komets are infinitely tougher because everybody can take on their own weight class, and they're going to be fine. And those guys can all play too. They can play a regular shift. And like I said last week, give Morasti a chance to get his legs going a little bit. He got a few more shifts this weekend than he had the weekend before. I think Coach Sims is learning what Morasti's all about, and he realizes he can trust him defensively, and that he's not going to take a stupid penalty. He's not going to put him down. And, John has earned a tremendous amount of respect from his teammates already for one thing. Here's a little inside tip for you. Instead of, if you'll notice, his fights always start in the defensive zone. And why is that? Is because they come off the face-off usually, and John, if they're in the offensive zone, they'll win the face-offs mostly with Chalk and Leo and LaPointe. I mean, they're winning a lot of face-offs lately. So he's not going to do it there because that stops the play right away. And what if they score? Well, that wipes out the goal. So he has really gained a lot of respect from his teammates because he does it in the defensive zone, where if they stop play and they score, it doesn't hurt the Komets. I mean, he's really smart about it. He does a lot of very, very smart things on the ice.
You talk about face-offs. Should switch gears a little bit. I have noticed that when the Komets appear to be in their own zone, they are phenomenal at winning the face-off and keeping the puck down low.
Yeah. Well, and what happens is, too, is, fans were always talking about Kevin Ryder coming out of his net and stuff. But he's really good at that. If they win the face-off in the defensive zone, they generally Chalk knocks it behind the goal, and then Ryder sets it up for the defenseman, and it's gone. I mean, before the opponents can even react to it at all. They've really gotten good at that lately. And part of that is the forwards are all coming back deep, too. But you've got 4 guys right now taking face-offs, 5 guys if you count Lardner, who are very, very good at it. You've got Chalk, and you've got Leo, who are 2 of the best in Class AA hockey. LaPointe has been amazing. And where I've really noticed Dan LaPointe is late in games on the road, he wins every defensive zone faceoff. It's remarkable. I mean, and he's got the disadvantage there because he's got to put his stick down first. But he has just been phenomenal at defensive zone faceoffs. And then you've got Curado, who's on his line with him. So if Dan gets caught cheating a little bit, you just put Curado in there. And if he gets thrown out, Curado's waiting. And you've got, if Chalk gets thrown out, Lardner's there. I mean, they've really done a great job on faceoffs lately.
No midweek game this week, so they get a little bit of rest. Heavy practices this week. But they're going to play 2 teams below them in the standings this weekend, and then they've got Quad City again, which is lately that series is starting to get a little bit more even, but Quad City was all over Fort Wayne early in the season.
And winning in Quad City on Saturday night was really, really big.
But things kind of set up pretty well for the Komets if if I'm looking at it, not that I'm a genius or anything, but hockey standings, but they're a better team now, but they get to really wallop those lower teams, get those points, and then by the time they're really gelling together with all these new players, they're playing Quad City and Bloomington, the teams ahead of them. How advantageous is it for them to make, while they have to get points against teams below them, but they also have to start stealing games on the road at Quad City and at Bloomington?
Sure. What's interesting is that's where the face-offs come in, and that's where the penalty killing comes in, is on the road. I mean, that's where those are the two main factors, because they're scoring again finally. And if they're scoring and if they're getting it from all three lines, that means the other teams have got to win face-offs and they've got to score on a power play. And if the Komets are doing so well at those two things, that's not going to happen for the other teams. So, you know, they got 17 games left. I don't think it's out of their own possibility that they win 13 out of 17 or even do better than that. You know, they could end up third or fourth in the Turner Conference and have home ice advantage for the first round. And what's really interesting, too, is if you look at the other conference, the Barry Conference's standings, they could end up with the fourth or fifth best record in the whole league for the season, which could really be interesting as far as home ice if someone knocks off Allen than in the other conference playoffs.
Well, they're seventh in the Turner. I think with the points, they'd be fifth in the Barry.
Right.
And probably still moving because the points are very tight in the middle of both leagues in each,
right.
or in each conference.
Yeah, they're only, 5 points out of third right now in the Turner Conference, which is astonishing.
Yeah. Anything else I'm forgetting for the upcoming weekend?
I don't think so. I mean, it's just the biggest thing they got to worry about right now is staying healthy. I mean, that's
don't jinx it.
A big thing, and they've been really good and really lucky so far. They got Leo back, and Leo's playing better again, and they got OC with his knee, and that was okay. That they got lucky there. Schrock's still his knee's still bugging him, and they got a lot of dings, but they don't have any injuries right now. But that's what happens this time of year. And this is a week where I think having only 2 games or 3 games this week and 2 games next week, this could really, really help them heal up a little bit.
All right, Blake says we've covered it all. I think we have. We'll do it again next Monday as usual, and you can always view it here on the sports page of Wayne.com. He's Blake Sebring from the News-Sentinel. I'm Rod Hissong. Thanks for clicking on the Komets page at Wayne.com.